Driven by the sun and looking like it belongs in outer space, Aptera Motors is a solar mobility company formed back in 2019. It is based on its website, still in the testing phase, but we wanted to find out exactly what they're up to and where they're headed. Chris Anthony is co-CEO. It is a $152 million market cap company, Aptera Motors. The company is based in Carlsbad, California, and that's exactly where we find Chris. The microcap, by the way, down about 31% from its direct listing on the NASDAQ earlier this year. Hey, Chris, good to have you here with Matt and myself. I know he's going to take over in 1 minute because he's our car guy, or one of our car guys, but tell us a little bit about where the company is. You're in your, sixth year? Tell us about where the car is, where you're going. You're on the road, you're testing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Aptera is currently in final validation, and we're looking to press into full production in 2026. And it's just exciting to see the vehicle come together and see solar mobility finally on the road.
I was thinking about this interview earlier today, and clearly the current zeitgeist is not what you would consider pro solar car. The administration seems not to be the biggest fan of alternative energy or renewable energy. On the other hand, they've given you a ton of what I must believe are very incentivizing tax rules in the current One Big Beautiful Bill, especially if you're going to manufacture in this country, which you are, right?
Yeah, we're manufacturing in Carlsbad, California, but there is a global supply chain for vehicles like this, and we hope that there's enough investment in the U.S. to bring more and more of that supply chain over in time.
What are the critical pieces that you need? Like, what do you need to import and pay tariffs on, and what can you get from this country in order to build your car?
Yeah, initially we partnered with LG Chem and a company called CT&S in Korea to make our battery packs. But we're bringing the cell manufacturer over to Tennessee and bringing the equipment over to manufacture our battery packs here in Carlsbad, California. So that's been assisted by a California Energy Commission grant, and we hope to have all that production here in the U.S. Hopefully by the end of 2026, maybe 2027.
What's the most difficult aspect of what you're doing and trying to create a market essentially for it and then ramp up? Like, what is the trickiest part right here?
Yeah, most companies start with a minimum viable product. In transportation, it's kind of about the styling of the vehicle and how many cup holders it has, how many passengers. But that's not really where we started. We started with how do we make the most efficient transportation possible, and then it became this solar-powered masterpiece that we have now. But we really didn't know what kind of market there was. We weren't able to study the market for something that didn't exist. So we kind of had to just build what we wanted to bring to the world and then hope that people really liked it. And luckily, within the first couple weeks of announcing it, we had over 4,000 orders. Now we have almost 50,000 orders for the Aptera. And we think people are really excited about transportation built for efficiency's sake, and something that can be solar powered, something that you never have to worry about putting gas in it, something you never have to worry about plugging it in.
Do you have to worry about range?
Perfect. The standard version of the Aptera gets 400 miles of range, plus it gets the solar charging that it gets every day just by leaving it out in the sun. But we do offer larger range models of our Aptera up to 1,000 miles of range.
So that's easily enough for like my daily commute. The car looks really, it looks cool, looks weird, looks different. It's a three-wheeler. I guess that would be so that you can classify it as a motorcycle. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you've got these outboard fenders on the front, 2 wheels, and then 1 wheel in the back. Tell us about the design.
Yeah, what most people don't realize is that 60 to 70% of your fuel at highway speeds just goes to pushing air out of the way if you're in a typical SUV or sedan. So we started, with aerodynamics when it comes to making transportation more efficient. That's why it looks more like a fish than a box. And with something that looks so unique, you also want to eliminate, any weight you can. So it's very lightweight. And that made it 3 wheels, so there's less rolling resistance, less weight. And that 3 wheels has some unique advantages, and they were classified as a motorcycle. But because it's 3 wheels, you don't have to have a motorcycle's license. Because you have something over your head, you don't have to wear a helmet. And in California, EVs are no longer allowed gratis admission to the HOV lane, the high occupancy vehicle lane. So we'll be the only EV that's able to drive in the HOV lane without any restrictions. So it's
That's interesting that you can sort of weave through different regulations with a 3-wheeled vehicle, and that's why you've seen some of the coolest experimental vehicles from the Morgan 3-wheeler to this Aptera car. It's got room for 2 people inside, right, as well as, I guess, luggage or a pet or whatever you want to bring along. What's it like when you're driving around? I mean, everybody must be rubbernecking.
How come you haven't driven one yet?
Yeah, how come I haven't driven one yet, Chris?
Well, we need to get you in one soon, Matt. It's a pleasure to drive. It's super, super quiet. It's kind of eerily quiet because a lot of the noise you hear in a typical SUV or sedan is wind noise buffeting off the vehicle at higher speeds. But because the Aptera cuts through the wind so nicely, you don't really get a lot of that. So it's a very different kind of driving experience. It's quick. It's 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, top speed 100 miles an hour. It's definitely something that gets attention. If you are an introvert, maybe this is not the vehicle for you initially, because any Starbucks that you pull up to, you're gonna bring a crowd.
But you can take it off the beaten path, right? I mean, I'm sure I've seen the website because I recall pictures of maybe the Aptera on a beach or in the woods. It comes with, or you can buy, I guess, camping gear or a kit that goes along with it so that you can get out there. And plus the fact that it's solar charging, you can charge with the sun up to 40 miles a day, right? Means that you can really take it off the grid.
Yeah, it's a little deceptive on the storage. There's actually 35 cubic feet of storage in the back. If you put the front seat forward on the passenger side, you have 7 feet of space from the tail to the tip. So you can put surfboards back there, mountain bikes. You can actually leave the hatch up, and there's a camping kit where there's a tent that goes over the back of the vehicle. So you can camp 2 people comfortably. But most importantly, it's very cool to think that you can drive 200 miles to your favorite camping spot. You can camp for a week, and you can come back with more energy in your Aptera than you left with.
Unless it rains, or no.
It does get less solar production, if it's super cloudy or if it rains. If it's cloudy, you can count on maybe half of the energy production. If it's a whiteout snow, obviously you're not going to get much solar. But it's really a whole new vehicle category, a vehicle that creates its own fuel. There's never been anything like it where you purchase the vehicle and you're also purchasing a lifetime's worth of fuel with it.
Yeah. Hey, we're talking with Chris Anthony, Co-Chief Executive Officer of Aptera Motors, joining us from Carlsbad, California. I mentioned that the company began in 2016, but it's really like an iteration of a company that goes back a while. I think goes back to actually 2006. It was a company, I think it liquidated, it came back as a second company, and now it's the third company. Is there anything, like if someone, Googles, they might be like, God, this feels a little uncomfortable. Anything that connects you to kind of the history of this company from day one?
Yeah, I met Steve Fambro in 2005. He had a vision for how to make vehicles more efficient. He was a bit perplexed that there are some vehicles on the road that you would think should be efficient, things that look aerodynamic, a VW Bug. Well, why doesn't that get more than 50 miles per gallon? It really all comes down to the aerodynamic losses, the weight losses. So how would you make the most efficient vehicle possible? And that's what Steve and I set out to bring advanced engineering to, is if you really tackle the problem from a first engineering principles perspective, what do you end up with? You end up with a vehicle that looks more like a fish. It's about 2,000 pounds. It has 3 wheels, and it has an electric powertrain because that's the most efficient way to get energy to the wheels. By happenstance, we created something that gets some 350 miles per gallon equivalent. And when you do that, you can put a relatively small solar package on top, but get really useful range. We get about 40 miles a day of free power just from leaving the Aptera out in the sun. So if you're like the average American and you only drive 30 miles a day, 40 miles a day of solar charging is great. You just never have to plug the vehicle in. You just leave it outside and it takes care of all your average driving needs.
So Chris, is this something that you really see for local driving? I'm curious if it taps out at 65 miles an hour, or how fast can it go? And can it be on highways or?
What's your VMAX, dude?
Thank you.
Yeah, the suspension handling characteristics are great. It's a very spirited drive, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, but you're actually faster, at the upper ends of the speed, 30 to 60, is faster, and a top speed of 100 miles an hour. So definitely driving it on the highway. It's made to be a Southern California vehicle. Lots of sun out here. It's made to be more than, just a commuter vehicle. You can, take it and, do the family shopping. You can, pick up the kids from the school. You can, do a lot with this vehicle in terms of usability.
I also see that it can fit individuals of up to 6'8", which is important for me
because you're 6.
I'm 6'4", but I need leg room, right? I get claustrophobic in normal cars and planes, so I need my space. And by the way, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. When I was in college, that was what a 911 was doing. So that's
respectable.
Really respectable. I mean, there's still a lot of cars that can't do that. Of course, you got the instant torque here. Getting up to 100 miles an hour, I rarely exceed that speed when I'm driving
close,
to
right?
and from work. I try to come close when there's nobody around. How many orders have you got for this? I mean, how many people do you think you're going to sell this car to when it goes into final production?
And just got
20 seconds.
about 20 seconds, yeah.
We've got almost 50,000 orders, but we hope to deliver up to 1 million Aptera in the next 10 years. It took Tesla 13 years to deliver their millionth vehicles. We hope to do it in 10.
Well, I can't wait for Matt to try it out and report back, and then you can come back on with us, Chris. Chris Anthony, co-CEO of Aptera Motors, joining us.